All right, good day, everyone. So, in this video, we're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to talk about LeBron and Michael, their individual achievements in the playoffs. Were they able to even make it? The first few years, what did it look like? They were rookies, they were young guys. It's very weak to discredit Jordan, as yes, he did not go very far in the playoffs. He was still 5-6, making the playoffs every year with his time in his first 6 years in Chicago. Made the playoffs every time. He had to endure the Giants and the Celtics, not just in the postseason, but in the regular season as well, and the bad boy Pistons as well. So he had to get over that. He had to endure that. And it's very easy to just say he was 5-6. He lost all the time. But the competition was there, and it was very difficult for him. And obviously, it would have been nice to see him get past that. You know, it would have been a great accomplishment if he were to do that, but he didn't, right? And then LeBron, 8-4 through his first 6 seasons in the playoffs. He did make the finals, but he didn't make the playoffs until he was in his 3rd year already. And then he got destroyed by the Spurs, but still he made the finals, right? That's important. He played the Wizards and the Celtics and the Pistons. And that's not as impressive as who LeBron had to play in the playoffs, because the East it's just not who it used to be, right? And then through 1985 to 1990, Michael had to play those teams, the Celtics and the Pistons. So I'd say that they both kind of performed the same. I give them the same grade. They both did really well. LeBron had a better record. Michael had harder team competitors to play against. But still, like, the playoffs, it doesn't really change much to me. And then later on, Jordan played the Knicks, the Hawks, and the Heat, and the Cavaliers a lot in the playoffs. And that's still a bit of a challenge, but it's not like a huge deal to me. I don't think that's a very defining matchup. Like in the playoffs, the Bulls did not actually have that many of a team. There wasn't much of a team that they had to kind of fight through, except for the Pistons. But I'll get to that later. LeBron with Cleveland from 2015 to 2018. He had to play the Hawks and Toronto. So, and then in Miami, he had to. Okay, so in his time in Miami, he played the Celtics and the Pacers. That's understandably a little bit more of a challenge. But Toronto and Atlanta is just, I mean, we all know the story of Toronto and LeBron, and the Pacers and the Celtics with his time in Miami, that's a lot more of a challenge. And I think I'm going to give LeBron and Jordan equal credit for their performances in the playoffs, excluding the finals, of course. And they had very similar amounts of victories and just equal challenges in the first 3 rounds. So there wasn't a whole big change there. As far as Game 7s are concerned, the whole idea of going to a Game 7 to perform and be this master of the clutch, I don't want to talk about Game 7s, and as far as they're concerned, they're not, because going to a Game 7s just means that you're as good of a winner as you are a loser, and you're actually incapable of winning because you can only win half of the games in that particular matchup. Instead of just winning and proving that you're better than that team, you're actually not as good. You just are able to win one more game, and then you at that rate, you're still going to lose the next game. But it obviously doesn't matter, because it does come down to one game. Game 7s are important. But the whole reason you're there is because you're losing all the time. And Jordan's ability to go to a Game 7, well, to not go to a Game 7, but 6, says that his opponents were good. He wasn't running away with the game. He wasn't running away with the series, but he was just a little bit better. And that showed by not pushing himself to a Game 7, not losing all that many times. The Bulls were just able to win all those games, and I mean, props to James, I guess. He's 5-2 in Game 7s, and that's impressive. But you know, if you're able to play another playoff game and be successful, more so with Miami in your later years, I mean, he didn't prove to be good at game sevens later until later in his career when he had these amazing teams around him. And we'll get to the whole thing about LeBron joining other teams narrative in a bit. But other than that, that's probably the overarching thing with the playoffs is just they were pretty equal, and they didn't change a whole lot. I don't think either of their performances. In my previous video, we talked about their performances, and they're just as good. They were able to put up points on the boards and do amazing things for their team, but other than that, the playoffs they didn't stand out to me as anything different, anything special. No one triumphed over other areas than the other guy did.